I am Aisha Edwards. I'm from Suffolk, Virginia, and I'm a patient of Virginia Oncology.
I am Sean Metz. This is my wife, Vicki Metz. This is Liam Metz, Noah Metz, and Ava Metz.
Yeah, I know Logan. Are you? I'm Ava Fawn.
Ava Fawn.
Yeah.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Megan Fortner, and I am a social worker at Virginia Oncology Associates. You see a lot of stories and experiences from all walks of life, the cancer patients I work with. I think for me, throughout the last 5 years, the hardest stories are my patients who are homeless, who've been diagnosed with cancer. And I just think cancer is already so challenging, but when someone doesn't have a steady place to lay their head at night and recover from treatment, that one is always, those patients are the most challenging for me because the resources are limited out there, and more so than ever after the pandemic.
I was diagnosed December 6th of 2017 with triple-negative breast cancer. I decided to do the lumpectomy first. My cancer returned the next year. I then decided to do the double mastectomy. Did that, went through chemotherapy and radiation again, came back again. My journey has been difficult, but I'm glad to still be here. Financially, it's been a burden because my husband is the only one working now. So it's been a lot for my entire family.
So, Liam was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, metastatic stage 4. He was found with over 37 lesions in his body. You know, when you spend your life going to school and building a career and a savings and you think everything is fine, and then in 2 weeks your whole world gets flipped, you know, you lose everything. Ooh, emotions. When you lose everything, it's tough.
One of the most critical things that we do as an organization is to bridge the gap that families have between their diagnosis and getting things in place like disability, freeing up money that they may have saved in investments or, you know, things of that nature.
There is a patient that me and Jody were able to work together. His name is Mr. Douglas Steinruck. And when he came to me, he was homeless and had no place to go. And he was just diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. So still adjusting to that diagnosis, as well as not able to work. And if you can't work, that means you have no money coming in. If you have no money coming in, that means you don't have you can't pay for an apartment. You can't pay to stay anywhere. So that's where he was at when I met him.
Hello, my name is Doug Steinruck. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. Well, I got diagnosed in September of 21. I was working up until that point, but the pain had gradually gotten to the point where it was getting uncomfortable to even get into the car. The bone cancer had started hitting over here first. And at that point, I realized there was something going on inside of me. So I went to the doctors, and they told me at that point I was already stage 4 prostate and bone cancer, and that I should have come in beforehand. I should have been seeing a regular doctor beforehand, but without medical or health insurance, it was a little difficult to do that. So,
one of the most impactful stories that I remember from this year is that of Doug. And I know when Megan called me, she said, "We have a situation with a homeless patient. What can we do? Like, he's living in a hotel, and if you know anything about rent and living in a hotel is about twice as much as living in an apartment. But in order to get into an apartment, you have to have an excellent credit score. You have to have deposits, which are equal to like 1 month's rent. And rent is anywhere from $800 to $1,500. And cancer patients who have lost an income don't have that to give. So they're kind of left stranded, and they get into this cycle of having to pay daily. They're paying daily for hotel rooms when they're homeless. So in this particular instance, Megan called me and she said, he's living in a hotel. I think that maybe we could get him services as a homeless veteran if we can get him kind of stabilized. So we were able to navigate that process and bridge that gap. We paid for his hotel room until we could work out the details with the Veterans Organization. And ultimately, that was such a huge success because he received a voucher for 70% of his rent. That would be for the rest of his life. And there's no bigger win than that.
So I've learned in the work, it's so important to just come together. You got to look at all resources, and especially with them being limited. So whenever I come across a cancer patient who's homeless, the first step is calling the crisis hotline. Mr. Steinruck, we got a call from the crisis hotline, and then he was assigned to a case manager at Supportive Services for Veteran Families. So with that partnership, we could start to look at what is out there for permanent solutions while we work with Daniel's Grace for the immediate crisis needs.
I started feeling symptoms probably in the beginning of January 2021, and it was gradually getting worse throughout the months, and I was just fighting it. I'm in construction. I'm used to getting beat up and splintered, bruised, and bloody and everything else. So that's when the pain had gotten to the point where I had to go to the doctor. And it didn't take long before they recommended me to the VOA, and then I was diagnosed there. And by not being able to work, I obviously started experiencing financial hardships. And I was so thankful that Megan Fortner was there at the VOA because she's my social worker oncologist, and she recommended Daniel's Grace, and y'all have been such a blessing to me. I mean, y'all came through with my rent, my car, my Verizon bills. It's been a blessing to have all that from y'all.
And being able to sustain a home for our children, right? Like that to us is incredibly important, having a sanctuary of our own.
Anytime I reach out to you, I get a call back. Y'all have helped with our mortgage a couple of times. You helped with our light bill. So Daniel Grace has really tremendously blessed us.
I was able to recently receive housing vouchers that have helped me get money from HUD instead of relying upon Daniel's Grace anymore. But I really am thankful that y'all were there in the meantime, in the middle.
This is real. This is real. As a human, I went from, a 6-figure salary to nothing. I've lost everything. I've liquidated everything I've owned to support my son, and that's okay, right? And I think any parent that cares for their kids would do the same. The call to action is that the donors that are able to step up, we need them. These patients need them, people need them, and I know from experience myself, when I am back on my feet and doing what I did before, I know now where to put that, those extra funds. I know where to advocate. I know where to really push to try to help.
This is one of the reasons why Virginia Oncology Associates is a sponsor for this event. They know the difference that Daniel's Grace makes. They know what it brings to our patients that we service, and we're very grateful.
I wanted to thank all of y'all for your financial support, because y'all really helped me out between the time of diagnosis to the time that I'm getting my feet on the ground again.
If you can, please sow into this amazing foundation, because it is amazing. I know it's blessed me, and I know it's blessed other people, because last year I met some awesome people and I sat with them and I heard their stories. I would just ask anybody that hears about this to please support any kind of fundraiser y'all have. Just make a donation in a loved one's name, anything that you can do, because it really makes a difference in other people's lives. It has made a huge difference in our life.
The opportunities that exist out there are great, and I feel that those that are able to give and donate to Daniel's Grace, what they're doing is addressing financial toxicity. And what that is the financial stress and the financial burden that our cancer patients are facing day in and day out. But even with insurance, it's really challenging. For the most part, they're working full-time jobs, maybe 2 jobs. And when you are sick, you're unable to go to work anymore, which means you're no longer able to get an income. So if you're single, you're losing your full income. If you're married, you're losing 1 income. And many might qualify for disability, but one thing that I've learned working with my patients is that no matter who you are, no matter what your diagnosis is, even if it's terminal, everybody has a 5-month waiting period before Social Security disability kicks in. So there's a gap that patients experience. And even though they see the light at the end of the tunnel and a check coming, the check is much lower than their income, and there's a gap. And people struggle during that gap to keep their heads afloat. And that means they're not focusing on their cancer. Just the opportunities are huge to give to Daniel's Grace to help fill that gap, fill that void, and allow people to focus on their cancer, focus on their health, and not wonder if their lights will be on next week, if there'll be food on the table next week, or if they can continue their cancer care in general. So, yeah.